What's going on, guys? My name is Steve. Thank you for stopping by my channel. I'm just an American guy on a journey to discover my British and Irish ancestry. Today, we're going to be reacting to the Forth Bridge, an incredible 19th century achievement. This was actually recommended to me by a subscriber. I've never heard of the Forth Bridge before. I don't really know what to expect here. Based off of the thumbnail itself, it looks pretty cool. I've always enjoyed kind of checking out engineering marvels and big, massive projects and things that were built before their time, so to speak. So this looks like the type of thing I'll enjoy checking out. But anyways, guys, I don't really have much to add to this because I don't really know anything about it other than it's in Scotland somewhere. So let's go ahead and check out the Forth Bridge, an incredible 19th century achievement.
The Forth Bridge crosses the Firth of Forth, an estuary 9 miles west of Edinburgh.
What did he say? The First of Forth? Hold on.
The Forth Bridge crosses the Firth of Forth, an estuary 9 miles west of Edinburgh, to connect the villages of South Queensferry and North Queensferry by rail via the Edinburgh-Aberdeen line.
Wow. Wow. That is an impressive bridge. Wow. By the way, is he saying the First of Forth crosses the First of Forth? I mean, is that what this river is? I'm not really sure, but anyways, it's probably not too important to know right now. But wow, that's impressive. It really is. This was built in the 19th century. Yeah.
Forth Bridge, sometimes called the Forth Railway Bridge to distinguish it from the more recently built Forth Road Bridge that carries automobile traffic, was designed by the British engineers Sir John Fowler and Sir Benjamin Baker, who began construction in 1882. 8 years later, in 1890, King Edward VII, who was still the Duke of Rothesay at the time, opened the completed bridge. Recognized at the time as a marvel of science, the Forth Bridge has only gained a reputation over the last 130 years. It's a UNESCO World Heritage Site and
is it
considered the greatest man-made wonder in Scotland, and it was voted as such in 2006.
Okay, so yeah, that's why this was recommended to me, because this is known as the greatest man-made structure in Scotland. Okay, yeah, that's cool. Okay.
This is because the bridge has a total length of 2,467 meters.
8,000 feet? Wow, dude. That is like, what is that? I mean, you're about a mile and a half, right? I mean, roughly about a mile and a half, 8,000 feet. Is it a mile? 5,250-ish or so, something like that. Wow. That is impressive considering when that was built. I mean, even today, you know, I look at a structure like this and I'm like, wow, that's impressive. But I'm thinking back, you know, what he's 1882, I believe is what he said. You know, we're talking 140 years ago or close to it. Man, that is impressive.
Which is over 8,000 feet, roughly the depth of the Grand Canyon. Plus, It's a cantilever bridge, meaning that the bridge's spans merely extend out from central supports rather than having any kind of suspension. In fact, at the time of its completion, the Forth Bridge had the longest cantilever span of any bridge in the world at 521 meters, over 1,700 feet. Although this was ultimately surpassed by the Quebec Bridge in 1919, the Forth Bridge has to this day the rank of the second longest cantilever bridge span in the world and is one of the foremost engineering accomplishments not just of the 19th century, but really of all time. Until the 19th century, people used ferries to cross the Firth of Forth. As industrialism increased both population and the need to move people and goods around Scotland,
Okay, guys, I just want to ask, is the First of Forth this river? It's got to be. It's got to be what he's talking about. I mean, it makes sense because we're literally talking about crossing this, whatever this is. So am I correct? He's saying the First of Forth?
became decreasingly efficient and less effective. Moreover, train lines were spreading all around the UK as the dominant form of transportation. Interest in a way to put railroad tracks across the Firth of Forth grew very quickly. Initially, engineers viewed tunnels as a solution due to the success of mining tunnels under the Firth and the surrounding sea as early as 1618. However, this idea was soon discarded in favour of a bridge. Scottish civil engineer James Anderson proposed a suspension bridge made of 2,500 metric tons of iron, which equates tons to 2,800 short tons. For reference, the Golden Gate Bridge, which is only about 12% longer than the Forth Bridge, weighs some 811,000 metric tons or 900,000 short tons.
Wow.
As you can imagine then, this was an impossibly inadequate amount of materials, and the design was subsequently heavily criticized. The famous German engineer Wilhelm Verstoffen was quoted as quipping that this quantity of iron distributed over the length would have given it a very light and slender appearance, so light indeed that on a dull day it would hardly have been visible, and after a heavy gale probably no longer to be seen on a clear day either. Then in 1863, the North British Railway and the Edinburgh and Glasgow Railway entered into a joint venture with the hopes of putting a bridge across the Forth River. They ultimately appointed Sir Thomas Bouch to design it. Apparently there was not as much specialization in engineering in the 1860s, as Bouch was chosen thanks to his previous work designing ferries to carry rail cars.
Okay, I am so confused now, because it's the First and Forth, and then now there's a separate river called the Forth. I'm gonna have to look into these rivers because I'm now confused. Anyway, let's continue.
Across the Firth. Before construction even started, the Forth Bridge became mired in financial problems. A familiar thing on mega projects, including the ultimate revelation that the project's accounts had been falsified to mislead the shareholders. This led to the resignation of the chairman and the board of directors. However, in 1870, the North British Railway did use Thomas Bouch's design to begin work on the Tay Bridge to cross the Firth of Tay to the north. The Tay Bridge opened in 1878. Queen Victoria travelled over it herself and knighted Thomas Bouch as a result of its success. Things looking up, the North British Railway decided to resume work on the Forth Bridge using Bouch's design for a suspension bridge. Then, shortly after the Tay Bridge's opening, disaster struck. On the 28th of December, 1879, the storm of a generation hit the east coast of Scotland, bearing down on the bridge with wind speeds of 129 kilometers per hour. That's over 80 miles per hour. After dark, a passenger train from Burnt Island crossed onto the single-track bridge on its way to Dundee, at which time sparks began to fly from the wheels, something not especially unusual for trains crossing bridges in the era. However, as the train entered the high girders, the recognizable part of a girder bridge where a triangular network of steel girders creates a canopy over the bridge bed, there was a bright flash of light and the train disappeared from sight. The train never appeared on the far side of the bridge, prompting the signalman to try to contact his counterpart on the near side, but he found all communications had been lost. On inspection, the train had fallen off the bridge along with a significant portion of the high girder section. 75 people died. There were no survivors. Almost all the blame fell on Thomas Bouch, who, it was claimed, failed to take into account high enough wind loading in his plans. His reputation was absolutely destroyed, and his design for the Forth Bridge was abandoned, and he died a year after. John Fowler and Benjamin Baker won the contract for a new design for the Forth Bridge with their idea for a cantilever bridge. Cantilevers are one of the oldest bridge designs known to humanity, used thousands of years before industrialization. Fowler and Baker, however, wanted to take this concept to the next level. In a cantilever bridge, horizontal girder.
Yeah, this is what I want to look at, because I didn't put two and two together when I first saw this. And now I realize that's what they're doing. They're kind of showing how this would work. That is cool, man. Wow, okay.
Girders stretch out in either direction from centralized cantilever supports. On one side, the side reaching the shore, the girders are then anchored. This allows the other side, which is suspended in the air, to support a further suspended span of bridge, which then meets girders supported by a cantilever on the other side. The distance between the two cantilevers is called the main span, and the Forth Bridge had the longest one for 29 years. Cantilever bridges have the advantage of simple construction and fairly straightforward engineering principles. However, they'd never been used to bridge such a long distance. In addition to solid math and science, Fowler and Baker were able to convince the North British Railway that the cantilever approach was the best idea, thanks to a clever gimmick where they demonstrated the principles by forming a bridge with their own bodies. The two British engineers were the cantilevers, and using brick anchors and wooden supports, they were able to support the Japanese engineer Kaiichi Watanabe on a span of wood between them.
Wow.
In 1882, the contracts for construction were awarded to Sir Thomas Tancred, T.H. Falconer, Joseph Phillips, and Sir William Arnold & Co. They would ultimately use 55,000 metric tons, or 61,000 short tons, of steel on the project, making it the first major structure in the UK to be made of the material. Other required materials included cement, lumber, and granite, as well as coal for ovens. These were sourced from nearby locations and delivered by train, after which barges carried the materials to where they needed to be along the bridge. Considerable infrastructure had to be built simply to support the Forth Bridge's construction. This included piers for the barges, additional rail for the trains, and numerous cranes. More significantly, houses and workshops had to be built for the over 4,600 labourers who would help build the bridge over its 8 years of construction. The first structures that had to be built were the circular underwater piers that would support the cantilever towers. Each of the 3 cantilever towers is supported by 4 piers for a total of 12 altogether. Although some of this work could be done at low tide when the riverbed was exposed, most of it had to be done using caissons. Caissons are watertight structures that can then be sunk into the riverbed. Water can then be pumped out one way or another, allowing the building of piers. In this case, the French contractor El Cosi used pneumatic technology to remove the water. The builders then poured cement into the bottom of the caissons, onto which they built the main granite body of the pier. Because the caissons involved pressurizing the inside of the structure to keep water out, workers had to depressurize when exiting, much like scuba divers rising out of deep water. Improper depressurization can lead to a type of decompression sickness called caisson disease, which was responsible for one of the 73 worker fatalities during the Forth Bridge's construction. Indeed, building the Forth Bridge was a dangerous undertaking for its workers. With 38 fatalities, falling was the most common cause of death. In fact, rowboats had to be placed under the working areas to rescue men who fell into the river. Additionally, compulsory membership in the Sick and Accident Club paid for the treatment of injured workers or their funerals if they died. Along with the piers, the builders had to create the approach viaducts on either shore. Interestingly, the engineers decided it would be best to build the viaducts at a lower height than the final plans called for. They then raised the viaducts as they built the granite piers. They did this using hydraulic rams, another really impressive feat for the 19th century. The last stage of construction was the cantilevers themselves. The steel beams used for the cantilever towers were shaped in workshops at the bridge site. They were then installed in the towers using cranes and hydraulic riveters, bridge building technologies that you would still see in use on a construction site to this very day. After the Tay Bridge disaster, British officials weren't taking any chances, and they put the completed Forth Bridge through rigorous testing before it opened. Finished in December of 1889, formal testing took place in January of 1890, in which 2 trains, overloaded and weighing nearly 2,000 tons each, crossed the bridge without problems. In February,
wow, imagine being those first people driving across that on those trains. Wow. Just being the first to test something like that.
Of the railway companies involved in the project crossed the bridge, and on March the 4th it was officially opened. The Duke of Rothesay, who at the time was future King Edward VII, completed the ceremony by driving the last rivet, gold-plated and inscribed, into the bridge. Railway companies quickly built more tracks to connect with and take advantage of the Forth Bridge. Even now, in the 21st century, around 200 trains cross it each day. Plus, it appears in art and media and remains a major symbol of the Scottish nation. This isn't just due to the record-breaking cantilever span. It's thanks to the incredible ingenuity that went into designing and building such an effective and durable structure, especially at a time when they did not even have widespread access to electricity. From pneumatically pressurizing caissons to hydraulically lifting viaducts, the Forth Bridge is truly a marvel and a testament to the intellect and tenacity of the people of the 19th century. So I really hope you found this video interesting. If you did, please do hit that thumbs up button below.
Wow, that is impressive. I can see why it's titled an incredible 19th century achievement, because when you think about that, if you go back and you look at, where's that at? Like, imagine, like, I can't even imagine how you could even place these in the water. You know, I mean, 1880-ish, 1882. I think he said it was finished in 1882. As I want to start anyway, around that time period, 1880-ish, 140 years ago, basically. I can't even imagine. I mean, like you said, you don't even really have much in the way of electricity, and just somehow they're able to do that. I mean, I mean, trucks weren't even built yet, really. I mean, trucks and cars weren't even really around much at that point. I can't remember when the first car was made, but it wasn't around that time. I think maybe even after that, actually. Wasn't it like the late 1800s, 1895 or something? Anyway, it doesn't matter. But the point I'm making is that this really is an incredible achievement. I mean, we look at this bridge today and we say, I'm like, wow, that is impressive, right? But that's just coming from my mind of today's technology. It's just impressive to see humans building something like that. But when you really think about it, and you think about it's 140-ish years old, and you think about what went into building that long ago with nowhere near the technology we have today, the amount of ingenuity it took to create something like that is incredible. It just is. I mean, there's not much else to say about it, I'm impressed. I'm absolutely impressed with this, the fact this is 140-ish years old. That's amazing. But yeah, guys, I thought this was really interesting. I definitely enjoy checking out videos like this. I definitely like looking at, just incredible human feats and just amazing buildings and bridges and all sorts of things like that. So if you have other ideas around the UK or Ireland of things like this that you would think I would like to enjoy checking out, please leave them in the comments, and I'll try to get to them, bookmark them, and get to them at some point. This reminds me of a tunnel system that is in Virginia, the USA, that they have these massive underground tunnels that go under the sounds. I think one is like, I don't know, you go under that and you're under there for like a few minutes, and it's just really, it's a surreal feeling knowing that you're under, many feet of dozens, if not hundreds of feet of water going in these tunnels. And I kind of feel the same thing when I look at something like this, that, before something like this was built, just like before the tunnels in Virginia were built, you literally had to take a ferry to go across. Or in the case of Virginia, you could go around it, and it would take you forever to drive around. It really shortens the, it really connected people, It really is amazing when you think about what humans have created. I mean, this is amazing, and how it just connected these people. I don't know if these people could connect by driving around, considering that I think this is a river. I'm guessing not. I'm guessing you always had to take a boat or a ferry across. But this probably connected them so much more. And I can just imagine how, especially at the time, how just, great it was to have this, crossing. But anyway, guys, enough of me rambling. I thought this was really awesome. Like I said, if you have any other things like this you'd like to share, please do so. I enjoy checking things like this out. But anyways, guys, thank you for stopping by. Please click that like button. Feel free to drop your comments or suggestions about this video or others you think I might want to check out. And don't forget to subscribe to continue to follow me on my journey to discover my British and Irish ancestry. Until next time, guys, peace.